What the hell? If I find out who keeps putting Coors in the back of my Trans Am, I'm gonna have a word with them and say thank you very much because I like beer. Anyway, here's an update on the Screaming Chicken, my 1978 Pontiac Trans Am, pretty much my ultimate dream car. I traded the 68 Corvette for it on a whim. Well, not on a whim, actually, it was just lucky that it came up. And it, unfortunately, is not everything I'd hoped. There's quite a few issues with the car. I've managed to fix a whole bunch of them, and there's a whole bunch more to fix, but I thought that I'd tell you all about it very quickly in this video. Don't worry, it's not going to be too in-depth, but I'm going to go through all the bits and pieces that have been fixed, and the glaringly obvious ones that need to be sorted out, like these awful aftermarket T-tops, and trust me, this is really like, I'm losing sleep over these things. Anyway guys, let's get stuck in. The kind of shape that I enjoy cars to be in, which is fair enough, but a bit rough. If you take a look, it has a couple of things missing, some rubber seals, some caps, a little bit of rusty things here and there, nothing too bad, but overall, it's great.
This is great, dude.
Right, so I am an impulsive buyer, and well, it was just too good a deal to pass up. I absolutely love this car and I've always wanted one. So I just jumped on it. I could see glaringly that there were issues with it. It was missing the wheel flares. I could see some badly repaired damage on the rear quarter panel on the passenger side. And there were a couple of other glaringly obvious things just poking at me. Things like the fact that it didn't really start or run very well. It had a massively rattly roof, and it turns out the roof really is a big issue. I'll get into that a little later. But, you know, it drove like a dog. I've never driven a car that was so gutless before, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I love the car, and I was happy and smiling the whole way home. Let's get into what's actually been fixed, because it wasn't very easy for me to get it to pass smog. And now that's the first thing, you know, in California, if you buy a car that's anything newer than 1975, it mandatorily has to pass smog. And this is a huge issue, and anyone living in California knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, very quickly, what did I do to get it to pass smog? Well, first of all, it wasn't firing on all cylinders, so I replaced the cap and rotor. I checked all the spark plugs, replaced all the spark plugs. Turns out one of them was actually cracked in half, and so that's why it was only firing on 7 cylinders. I then took it in to the exhaust muffler shop because it needed a catalytic converter. Turns out all the cars I buy these days for some mysterious reason have their catalytic converters missing. It's expensive, and the entire exhaust system was just badly put together and rotted out, so I got them to put in an entire new system. This is not something I can do myself, so I got the shop to do it, and they you know, did the whole thing from the headers all the way back to the tips, new muffler, all that stuff. And they welded a cracked exhaust manifold for me, because unfortunately in California you cannot use aftermarket headers or exhaust manifolds. Anyway, they fixed the problem. Sometime down the line in the future I will replace them when I find it, the right part. Anyway, so the exhaust was sorted out, and I thought this would be good enough, and I took it in to get tested, and it failed. So I went back and I replaced all of the vacuum hosing on the system. These old 70s engines have got so many vacuum hoses and tubes and weird air pumps and all sorts of crap that it'll drive you insane. It's very complicated, but I replaced them all. I you know, did a little bit of work on the carburetor and so on, and checked the timing, and it still failed. So I had to go and pull the fuel tank out, because it turns out the fuel tank had a leak. Well, multiple leaks actually, one around the filler neck, and also ones where it seals, you know, the sender unit seals. So brand new fuel tank in there. You know, I did this all myself. It was quite a hassle, but took it in and passed smog. So I had managed to get past the first hurdle. Now that the car was registered and in my name and fully legal and all that, I could now get really stuck in. Now, absolutely one of the best things about these old cars is that if you live in America, you can find companies that make replica original parts. And that's something that I've never had in my lifetime, because living in South Africa, living in China, you know, if you're working on a vehicle, it's almost impossible to find classic old parts for an old car. So I went about and started to kind of work from the inside out. That's how I work, you know, where you have to drive, where you live in the car, you kind of want it to look nice. So there were a bunch of things that were bugging me. I had things like the door lock knobs were missing on the passenger side anyway. The steering wheel was bent, and also just the tilt part of the steering wheel was, you know, badly painted. All the paint was coming off. It looked absolutely ratty. So I hammered out the steering wheel with a rubber mallet, repainted it, and painted the steering column so at least it looks a little better and I don't feel like I'm driving a piece of trash. The shifter plate was all messed up. I put in a new one, and in fact I upgraded it to the nice kind of turned metal look to match the dashboard. Things like just the dome light cover, which had a hole burnt into it, and the sun visors, which were absolutely disgusting and full of grease and falling apart, I just replaced those too. That, you know, the actual rear view mirror, all these cars are like this, you know, it's kind of eaten away and corroding. The little adjustment knob on the clock, you know, the vents for the air conditioning, all these little things, I can actually go online and order them, and I love that about America. So I was just ordering left and right, all the things that were annoying me and falling apart, you know, the side rear view mirrors, which were trashed and crappy on the car. So I just kind of went a little overboard. Remember, this is my dream car. I'm going to keep it for the rest of my life. So I just went overboard and just started to get all these little trinkets to kind of make it cooler. And when I was satisfied that things were kind of okay, there's still work to be done, but they're kind of okay. It was now time to turn my attention to the mechanical side of things, because this thing was still not running right. Now, surprisingly, most of the gauges work in this car. Well, except for the oil pressure gauge and the temperature gauge, which are the two most important ones, really. And the car was having an overheating issue. Occasionally, when I'd stop, it would boil over, so I decided to tackle that first. I did my usual trick of replacing the thermostat and the thermostat housing, which I'm very glad I did. And at the same time, I installed the new radiator expansion bottle, which you saw a little earlier. And I also replaced the radiator hoses. So that actually seemed to fix it. Unfortunately, replacing the temperature sender didn't fix the gauge. It kind of works, but it's odd, so I'm guessing that the gauge needs some very specific sender. I'll be looking into that in the future. The oil pressure sender was very difficult to fix. I had to really disconnect a whole bunch of crap, but I got that working. And while I was at it, I noticed that the hard line for the fuel system was completely kinked, and actually quite surprised that there was fuel getting through this, so I completely replaced that with a nice new one too, and of course a fuel filter. Of course, while I was at it, I may as well put on a new Pontiac badge, since the one that came on the car was damaged and crap. Look, there's a lot of small little details that I'm not going to get into that I've changed, but let's just say I'm constantly changing things. But on to the fun stuff. You know, one of the best things about these cars are the shaker scoops. They look awesome. You drive down the road and they're shaking because they are connected to the engine, the top of the air scoop. So when you accelerate or you rev the engine, they move around and it looks cool. And they're supposed to be functional, but of course they're not. At least they stopped being functional because of some kind of noise regulation or something. But screw that, I wanted mine to be functional, so I cut it out with a Dremel, I put a little grill, and guess what? It works really well and it sounds fantastic. I can't wait to let you guys hear what it sounds like, because I actually haven't recorded the noise properly yet. But when the secondaries open on the carburetor on the Quadrajet, it sounds brilliant. I also replaced the speakers in the car and the radio. I put in something that's actually capable of Bluetooth and stuff, which is nice, something simple. Now, I've only just gotten started on this car. Remember, I want this to be my perfect forever car, and the T-tops are the worst part, but that deserves an episode all to itself, because it turns out these are a very rare aftermarket dealer-installed option from the 70s. So I think we should make a video all about it another time. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of everything I've done to the 1978 Pontiac Trans Am so far, the Screaming Chicken. And I can't wait to see you, well, we can't wait to see you in the next episode of Worthless Whips.